It's just not there. It wasn't provided for you and me. So it's like you got a leg, but you're not trained it. So you can't use it because it shrinks. You know, it's still potentially there, but it's not usable because it never got attended to. It never got stimulated. So if we are now taking that on, let's speculate about the possibility consciousness would have, because as an adult you can make a conscious choice. You can make the choice to now go for doing that what the system in our upbringing has not been able to provide to us. And then you will see what is going to happen to you and what the impact on your life is. So the consciousness is able to engage the brain holistically. That is a third operating system that is able to do that. I want to now illustrate to you the possibility and the power of consciousness. I compare it with a cross-section in the ocean. Just imagine that this is the ocean, and on the surface you got the little waves, the mind. That is the chatter, that is I want, I don't want, we should not, blah, 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 blah. It goes on, and in the night it doesn't stop. It's called dreaming. That are the little waves. Thoughts are very quick and fast and fast and fast in the chatter of the mind. Down here, in the middle section of the ocean, the water is not moving like that. No, it's moving, but it's much broader and wider. So the amplitudes of the middle section of the water of an ocean are longer, and therefore we call them the moods. Moods are triggered by subconscious programs that are playing you. A mood can be for a minute, for an hour, for a day, or even for many days. And down here the ground could be compared with the ground of being and with consciousness, which is quite good because the ground doesn't move at all. It is still, it just is. And awareness just is, it doesn't move. Attention moves, but awareness doesn't, it just is. So when you now put that into practical terms, let's say your mind says, let's get financially in a healthier condition. Then your mind says, what do we need for that? And you say, okay, 100,000 euros on my savings by the end of the year. The mind can do that. And then you make a decision and say, let's do that. You must make a plan now. And let's say part of the plan is that you need to get 2 hours, you need to get up 2 hours earlier every morning in order to particular actions that get you the more money in. So you set your alarm clock instead of 7, now you have to get up at 5. The alarm clock rings at 5 o'clock. You get up and you don't know what you're doing there 2 hours before the normal time. So your mind remembers you, listen, we have a plan, making money. That keyword money is a potential trigger for your subconscious programs around money. Let's say your program, the first cut is the deepest, so the earliest one, because your uncle always told you money is the root of all evil. Let's say that's your program. Remember, it's unconscious, you have no idea that it's there. So, 5 o'clock, let's make money, program gets uploaded, money is the root of all evil. Guess how motivated you are getting up now? Now you need to exercise willpower, right? Now you go into that last resort of the ego and the mind, willpower. So you force yourself to get up. But how long do you think you can sustain that? A week or two, you're very good. Sooner or later, you give up. The moment you give up, what takes over again? The subconscious. Or you don't start at all. You said, oh, that was a stupid idea. Or you do it, you force yourself, and then you feel guilty because you are now one of the people you can point the finger to, because you are now one of the people who are the root of all evil. So you make the money, you're guilty, and make sure that you're going to lose it sooner or later in order to be back to your original values, which were never yours, but you're not conscious of it. You get the picture? If it would be possible to move the middle section of the ocean 100 meters into that direction. So the whole water, 2 kilometers down, between 2 and 4, 100 meters into that direction. If you move the water on the middle ground, of course, they have no vote. They can't say, no, we're going to stay. Yeah? So the subconscious programs always determine the mind, always run the mind. Except willpower, and that is very limited. Yeah, the willpower is the resistance of your programs, nothing more. If you wouldn't have your programs, then you wouldn't need willpower, because then you would be in a natural flow. Okay, so subconscious over the mind. Now, when you would go down here at the ground of being, at the ground of the ocean, and you would move that water, the ground in 100 meters into that direction, then naturally the subconscious, the middle section of the water, would need to go with it, so of course would be the mind. So consciousness is always more powerful than the subconscious, and the subconscious over the mind. So with consciousness active, you are in command of what's gonna happen. If that thing isn't active, then the only thing what wants to show is the subconscious and the mind resisting it. So when consciousness is active, life feels and is like a magical ride, flow. Things we want and need come to us, law of attraction. Things we don't need disappear. It's beautiful. You made an appointment to meet a person, suddenly for whatever reason you don't want to keep that appointment anymore. You don't even need to call the person is calling you and saying, I'm sorry, I can't come. Happens all the time. Little things like that. Parking spots never going to be a problem again. If you need to make an appointment on time, there's suddenly no traffic jam, where usually always a traffic jam is. So your reality is starting to suddenly dance in alignment with what you are having as an intention of action. It's a beautiful system. So what would become available to us is the power to deliberately attract. I don't know whether you read the book The Secret or saw the movie. Yeah, some of you? Okay. Right. So the 5 minutes in the morning visualization is quite nice and wonderful. But if you sit there 5 minutes in the morning, every single morning, and have your red Ferrari in mind, I promise you the thing will not show up. Not as yours. Why? Because you are doing it from the mind. You're making waves up there and expect the ground of being to change. It's ridiculous. Even if you are fiddle around with the subconscious programs, and if you manage to get them a little bit out of the way, it still isn't going there where manifestation happens. And manifestation only happens in the here and now in the ground of being. So if you would have that active, and you do your deliberate attraction exercises in the context of consciousness, then we are talking about a whole different execution of power. Then suddenly the magic kicks in. But I don't remember having read that in the book. The power to see clearly. Seeing is a beautiful art, and we don't have time to go into that tonight. But it's very different from thinking. See, when you see something clearly, you don't need to make a decision. It's clear. You see it. What we see, not through the mind that would be thinking, but what is clear is clear. There is no choice. Yeah? Clarity has no choice. And the power to create. Now, the power to create is something very special, something very beautiful. I want to go into that. But before we look at creation, we need to look at change, because the two are often confused. Change is that what the mind, the first operating system, is anticipating and using in order to get you what you want. If you have any problem in any area of your life, the mind's reaction to the problem is what needs to change. Then it comes up with a projection of a possible solution, then your actions are aligned with that projection to that solution, and then you may have changed something, but you wonder why it didn't make any difference. Ever experienced that you changed things, but it didn't make any difference? Like you change your partners, but you still have the same relationship problems? You change your doctor, but you still have the same health problems? You change your boss, but you still have the same financial problems, or you change your lifestyle and you still have the problem of happiness. Because now you are having your Bentley and your 500 square villa, and now you're only suffering in more luxurious circumstances. You know? So many things that we change, we see that it doesn't make any difference. So change is a limited instrument. And if you don't have anything else available, you're gonna be hunting hallucinations. And if you reach the hallucination, you're gonna stand there as empty as you were 1 kilometer before, because it didn't turn out the way you thought it would. So obviously we're pointing to something that needs to come to the party as an alternative. So change is something from something. It's always looking at the problem and then taking the problem, the energy, the material, whatever it is, and make it into something new. That new, however, is made of the old. It's just a new shape, a new form. That's why it doesn't make a difference. See, creation is something from nothing. Literally nothing. It's bringing forth something that has no link to any cause, to no past, to no before. It's bringing forth from nothing. From a practical point of view, let's say you're leader in your company, and suddenly you discover, after you had 1 year of problems, the problem is, we found it now, darkness. Darkness is our problem. So, you're a man of action, woman of action, then you call a task force. You Google darkness, you start studying darkness, you go on blogs where people talk about darkness, so you educate yourself around, you go into it, you ask specialists, you make experiments. And while you're doing all that great stuff, which only if you succeed would lead to change, a person of consciousness would never go that route. Because a person of consciousness, knowing of the power of creation, would only ask one question. Not what's the problem and how do we change darkness, but what would we need to create? That's the only question. What would we need to create? And if you get that, then you would have, there shall be light. Very simple. But that is bringing forth something from nothing. You're not going to deal and focus on the problem. You are asking the question, what is it we would need to create? Same principle in a relationship. You either can deal or focus on the problem and try to change your partner, try to change yourself, try to change each other, or you ask the question, what is it we would need to create such that we would have, fill in the blank, whatever it is you want to have. But most people are then, okay, create, how does it work? Well, the first thing we teach people is to have the insight that in order to create, you need to have consciousness active, because that is the operating system that is able to create, because the subconscious only can upload programs, the mind only can think and come up with blueprints, but the power to create is somewhere else. The power to create a parking spot. The mind thinks the power to create the parking spot is created in your consciousness. And sometimes when there was a crisis for you, where there was no mind, no time for the mind, the crisis was immediate, you had to act. Now, no procrastination. Yeah? I say you were incredibly powerful in that moment. You did things you can't do, you can't repeat under normal circumstances. You were effective. Incredible. And that only shows you that when the brain is forced to work holistically, what's possible for us human beings.